All right, Chelsea fans, welcome back. That was it. It is over, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. That's right. We are in a state where the end of the Premier League season, we've seen it. It's done. It's over. Dan, one of your hosts here, alongside Nick. No, Brandon. That's right. He decided Champion Sunday, not for him. But that's okay, because we're here to break it down on London is Blue, hopefully your favorite Chelsea podcast out there in the many multiverses. But look, we've got plenty to talk about, even though it has ended basically the same way it was intending to start before the weekend started, where Chelsea have now concluded a very disappointing Premier League season. We're going to talk a little bit about the players who are on their way out. We did get a chance to see what we think were a few emotional goodbyes from players as they were exiting the pitch. And then we're also going to react to a crazy day we're still coming down from, with incredible scenes at Goodison Park and other locations where yes, in fact, Everton have stayed up amongst other crazy things, and Leeds have gone down, which should make every Chelsea supporter just a bit happy.
Should we do it?
Wait till later in the episode we actually talk about them, because right now I want to focus a little bit more on Chelsea, but primarily the Chelsea women's team, who once again, Nick, continue to just show that they are a level above the competition in the FAWSL, back to back title champions.
Yeah, it's like, I think you in one of the threads you brought up the LeBron D Wade Bosch Heat video. Not 4, not 5. This Chelsea women's team is special, man. Obviously, go listen to Blue Royalty. We did a whole hour and 10 minutes on Chelsea's title win, their third straight league and FA Cup double, which is just insane. Emma's, I think, 6th or 7th league title at Chelsea. The team is so much fun in a period where you could be forgiven for not loving Chelsea Football Club's performances on the field very much. The women's team consistently delivers. Please go listen to that. An incredible team, and a nice send-off for Magda Eriksson and Pernilla Harder yesterday. So please go tune in. And we've picked up a lot of fans this year, so I'm hoping that trend line continues.
Yeah, again, you cannot say enough good things about the Chelsea women's team, about the players, about the leadership structure in charge over there. And ultimately, this is not a podcast about them in particular. This is about the men's team's capitulations over the entirety of a season that we'll be getting into. But the Chelsea women are absolutely the breath of fresh air if you're looking for something a tad more enjoyable that is the right shade of blue for your viewing pleasure. But Nick, 3-word match reviews, let's get into it. I picked a couple because there were multiple suggestions for It's Finally Over, which I think is a general consensus of excitement, exclamation, but a couple people from our wonderful Discord family did have a couple variants on that felt maybe more accurate, or at least were a little different than the general consensus.
Jason Cassidy with We Didn't Lose. Fair enough, we did not lose. Dugan Jump Shots pod was sweet relief. yeah, that's about right. Canyon C with Misery is Over. And then Poo, P-U-U. That's a hell of a username there with the that's all, folks. And look, all of it is correct. Whatever you wanted to put out there is right. It's been an absolutely brutal season for the Chelsea men's team, and so I think we're all within our rights, Dan, today to celebrate the fact that this season is officially over.
Looney Tunes also a pretty good comp for the type of performance Chelsea had the entirety of the season. I went with good. By riddance, because we had a chance to say goodbye to some players, and we're saying good riddance to a season that we will consign to history as quick as humanly possible. We're just going to get that on the microfiche. We're going to store that in some unknown corner of a library, never to be brought up again, except for historians in the very, very far future looking for absolute fall from graces. But what was your 3-word match review?
Final grade, fail. That's what I got.
Colin making a huge comeback in the match review at the end of the season.
Unbelievable.
No one had the odds on that. Plus 1,000 for Colin to make it into 2 3-word match reviews with Bot Host. But before we get into the match details, we want to say thank you to those of us who are supporting us on Patreon. You can do that and join our wonderful Discord community. We have a lot of chatter across multiple channels, particularly the transfer window one, as Chelsea start to get into the business of it all. And we want to thank those who are leaving wonderful 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It helps people find the show. We super appreciate it. It's something you can do all year round. It doesn't cost you anything, and we're super appreciative when you do it. But look, we have a match to get into. The opponent was Newcastle. Champions League bound Newcastle on Sunday, May 28th, 2023 in the Premier League at Stamford Bridge. Scoreline was Chelsea 1, Newcastle 1. Goals in the 9th minute from narrative goal scorer Anthony Gordon. And then Sterling/Trippier own goal in the 27th minute was all the action. So you could have walked out at halftime and gone and enjoyed some additional pints and not have to worry about coming back into it. But look, before we get into the fifth stand highlights, Nick, the pre-match activity that we want to highlight was the work by the We Are the Shed group and the Shed faithful, who had to arrive 10 minutes early to help make sure the placards were up, but also the wonderful banner for Azpilicueta.
Yeah, it did feel like the final appearance for Azpi today. I don't think that sort of "We'll Just Call You Legend" playing on the "We'll Just Call You Dave" song goes up without there being some acknowledgement that's a realistic possibility. And look, I know that there are, I've said this multiple times this season. I know there are a bunch of people who would rather not, kind of see Dave play because, I don't think he's played his best season by any means, but he is a legitimate Chelsea legend. With the new Stamford Bridge construction, there should be a slew of new statues in front of it, including some of the heroes that we know and love. And Dave should be right there. He has literally won everything that there is to win. He's done it with class and grace and a never say die attitude. And it will be incredibly difficult, despite what everyone on Twitter is saying, which is just not the breadth of commentary across all Chelsea fandom. It'll be incredibly difficult to replace a guy like that. And I Dan, I just love him. I love him as a player. I love him as a human. I think, we've recently got a chance to talk to him on the pod, and he just he does things the right way.
Yeah, look, he's been not only a great leader there, has been a phenomenal ally in some of the conversations that he's put out with Magda and Pernille as a part of some of the other stuff that Chelsea has been doing from a social aspect this season. So there's not enough good words that we could use in the span of a few minutes here to talk about Azpilicueta. So we'll just call you legend and then get into some fifth stand highlights here before breaking down the lineup and everything else. All right, Nick, let's run us through the last lineup of the 2022-23 Chelsea season.
Mercifully, let's do it. Kepa between the sticks. Captain Cesar Azpilicueta on the right-hand side, legend. Trevoh Chalobah, Thiago Silva in the middle, and Lewis Hall resuming duties as left back in a back four with Enzo and Ruben Loftus-Cheek in the middle. Raheem Sterling, Conor Gallagher, Noni Madueke, and Kai Havertz attacking. Subs of Wesley Fofana. I guess Trevoh picked up an injury right before halftime, so Wesley Fofana came in. Looked thrilled to come out onto the field, by the way. Just a little tongue-in-cheek there. Joao Felix in for Havertz in the 59th minute. Chukwuemeka in for Ruben Loftus-Cheek in the 60th minute. Kovacic in for Gallagher in the 70th minute. And Pulisic making an appearance for Noni Madueke in the 88th minute. Unused subs of Mendy, Koulibaly, Mudryk, and Ziyech.
Well, top line stats, we're not surprised you that Chelsea had an XG that was higher than Newcastle's, 2.21 to Newcastle's 1.70. We had 65% of the ball there, 35%. 22 total shots That feels like a high in recent memory to the 13 that they had 5 on target to their 4, 9 off target to their 5, and 8 blocked to their 4. We had 10 corner kicks to their 3, 2 offsides to their 1, and 9 fouls to their 11. We had 2 big chances, and not a surprise, we missed both of those big chances. They had 2 big chances and missed one of them. They hit the woodwork, had a counterattack, and had a counterattack shot, 1 apiece. We had none of those. We had 13 shots inside the box, 9 outside the box, and 3 goalkeeper saves. One random stat from our good friend Naz, with the Chelsea ended the season in 12th place with 44 points, their lowest finish since 1994. Also, Chelsea's lowest points and goals in the Premier League era, still though more than Erling Haaland, so we get the dubious honor of not being outscored by a single player in the Premier League season. So, and this would also be the furthest behind that we've finished behind the champions of the league. So lots of work ahead, as Naz puts it, for Mauricio Pochettino, who we'll talk about in a little bit more. Nick, you didn't fill one in, so shock me if you have it. A NPET shithouse moment in the match.
I struggled with this. I don't really know if there is one. Is there?
No. If it takes us more than 2 seconds to think about it, it didn't happen.
No.
All right, we're going to take a quick ad break, and then when we jump back, it is the match summary, so stay tuned. All right, Nick, so as we get into it in the first half, Chelsea had a decent run for like 2 minutes, and then Newcastle just found a way to get the narrative goal, as I referred to it, from one Anthony Gordon, previously rumored to be joining Chelsea from Everton for an absurd amount of money when Frank Lampard was manager. And the defense was...
Tuchel was manager, not Lampard.
Well, Lampard was manager of Everton.
Oh, yes.
And was claiming how valuable Anthony Gordon was. So that also is just a weird cycle for all of this, too. It's all weird. This is all weird storylines. It's like this is clearly the writer's strike season for Chelsea. They got AI to come in and write it. AI didn't really know what to do. This is what we got. But the defense, I don't even think exposed is the right word. They just were completely off for this goal. They
just stopped playing. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous from Thiago Silva. It was ridiculous from Trev. All the way through. Really bad. The announcing team on this one was pretty aggressive about how bad Chelsea were.
It's just 2-footed studs up the whole match.
Look, hard to disagree with a lot of what our guy was saying there, but yeah, it was a shambolic goal to give away, and like, look, I think you and I were kind of texting behind the scenes, like the vibes were not high at that point. It was tough to watch.
Well, you and Newcastle supporters just absolutely having a wonderful day out. Knew they were going back into the Champions League for the first time in
They got to see the sun for the fucking first time in 30 years, probably. It was great for them.
Naz also had a tweet. I think they said that the top half of the Newcastle away support was topless, which was another look. They deserve it, right? They've worked hard to get here this season. Ownership issues kind of aside, their team and their players put in the performances to get them to where they need to be. It's a 38-game season, and you have to do the work in every single match to make it happen, and they did, and we didn't. So they should be well within their rights to celebrate the fact that they're heading back up. However, it was not all sunshine, roses, daffodils, and good vibes, because Sterling takes a speculative shot, one of many shots that he took in the game. This one, though, had the great fortune to bounce off of Kevin Trippier into the back of the net. Initially, everyone thought it was a Sterling goal, but very quickly realized it was absolutely a bit of a big deflection into the back of the net. So, look, not often did we get luck this season, Nick, but we did get a little bit of luck today.
It was really nice of him to handball it in. You know, I just thought that was an extra nice touch.
And to not get it called off.
Yeah, just a nice pity, nice pity goal for them to give us, and it was nice to see the fans get something to celebrate. You know, I mean, God, we were only there for a couple matches this season. I can't imagine, and those were matches that we won, famously, as we won't let people forget. But But it was it was nice to see a little bit of positivity enter the arena there.
Well, it was good too with the combination play because you had Enzo set up Madueke gets it into Sterling, so you were seeing movement, and I felt like the Newcastle team basically were like, we just don't want to get embarrassed today. We are willing to play on the counter. We're willing to let you have the ball. You guys don't know how to score, and so Enzo got time. He was getting closed down a bit, but he was getting the time he needed to work on the ball. And Madueke, particularly in the first half, was getting plenty of space, plenty of opportunity to bring it forward. Both of the attacks on the wings were getting space. They just were constricting that kind of direct middle area in front.
Yeah, and look, I think there was some pretty bright play in the first half, to be honest with you. After we conceded the goal, the team really started pinging the ball around. There was more one-touch passing in this game than we've had all season, and the players looked truly free to kind of express themselves across the pitch, and there was some decent play. I mean, Ruben was making some great runs from midfield. Conor Gallagher, there it is again. Conor Gallagher was being a pest. I think Sterling was showing some pretty decent, touches and vibes in the first half. You have Madueke, who just loves doing the most that he can in the box, as many in the box touches as possible. That's what Madueke loves doing. And, I think overall, Enzo kind of controlling the flow of the game from midfield, Lewis Hall continuing to play well. I mean, there was some decent stuff there. I mean, the team just can't score goals, as we know, Dan. I mean, that's at the end of the day, our announcing team, everyone who knows Chelsea, we all know that what our problem is, and it's scoring goals, and there's just no number 9 to do it.
Yeah, if you go back and look at just the individual XG per shot, so we're looking at the likelihood that a shot scored from that position on the pitch makes it in, the higher the point number, the higher likelihood that type of shot would have to go in out of 100 times. And the best opportunity was actually the Thiago Silva header that did not go in, which 0.26, so that was the best chance of the first half. So, I mean, really, for the remainder of the first half, it was just ping-ponging back and forth. Chelsea would get the ball, we would bring it close, we would try to get it in, it would get blocked, it would get turned over, Newcastle would run it back the other way. And there was some good individual defending at moments. I think particularly outside of the goal that we gave up, Trev Chalobah in the first half stood up well against Isak, who definitely was a handful and making it not so easy to one-on-one against him. But then we go to the second half. We get the one change, Fofana coming in for Chalobah due to the injury. We had a little bit of time, about 15 minutes, and then we get a double sub with Havertz coming off for Joao Felix and then Chukwuemeka coming off for Loftus-Cheek. We'll talk about the Ruben walking off the pitch as we look at maybe players who are saying goodbye, but that felt like a little bit of a roll of the dice. Say like, hey, let's just continue to try. Let's bring on a different attacker. Let's bring on a different midfielder and see if we can't strike something here. See if we can't continue to press and go after it, because a second goal was there to be had for either team, really.
What do you have to lose? That's the team played pretty freely today because there's nothing to lose, right? Just is what it is. So I was happy to see them at least try some new stuff. There were some back heel flicks. There were some little tricks that were happening in the second half, and Chelsea did everything but put the ball in the back of the fucking net per usual. But some of the play felt good, and I think that in particular Chukwuemeka came on and played really well. He continued the carrying of the ball that Ruben was doing with a little bit of additional flair in the final third.
I mean, there was 7 shots from the 61st minute to the 75th minute. And so Chelsea definitely, with that change, ratcheted it up. Newcastle were continuing to sit back, having a little less opportunity within it. So, again, there's a lot that can be critiqued about the different managers and what they did or didn't do correct throughout the entirety of the season, but this felt like some of the individual desire to make something happen was sparked or renewed from the individual players who are realizing it's a last opportunity potentially to play for Chelsea for many. It's the last opportunity of the season to get out, get some minutes. There's an opportunity to potentially advocate for yourself with a new manager or within the market. And individually, it felt like there was some desire to take some shots on, to take some risks, not from every player, but from a few. I think maybe the biggest question might have been around the Dan Burn incident, the handball, the arm behind the back of the 6'7" defender.
What even is it, Dan? Do we even know what it is? There were two opportunities, or two, I think, pretty clear-cut penalties. The first was Trippier before he handballed it in. There was a chance before that where ball clearly hits his hand, and I think the argument against the penalty was just proximity, which is fine, but had that been a Chelsea player, you bet your sweet ass that VAR is given that. And then the Dan Burn thing is crazy. He moves his arm toward the ball and then pretends like it was behind his back the whole time, and VAR apparently found no fault in that. I mean, whatever. It would have been really nice to win this, and I think Chelsea had the right stuff today to win it, except any sort of clutch gene in front of goal. I mean, good God. Joao Felix had 4 good chances. He had an open header in the middle of the net from a Lewis Hall peach of a delivery again, and blazed it over. He blazed his free kick over. Got unlucky that one shot was deflected, but I mean, nobody can find the broadside of a fucking barn. And then Pulisic at the very end, the last chance of the game, Sterling plays him in perfectly, and he shoots it right at Dubravka. And you're just like, I'm so happy this is over and we don't have to complain about this anymore because it's very bad.
Good first start of the Premier League season for him, taking over for Nick Pope with the finger injury that he sustained in the prior match. So, again, backup goalkeepers, the worst individual to face if you're a Chelsea attacker. And that was it. That was the wrap. That was it. It was over. The whistle was done. Everybody turned their attention to the other matches that still had meaningful minutes to play. But, Nick, that is the last match review that we will do as a podcast until the start of next season.
Episode 211 is a match review about Chelsea Newcastle of this season. We still have more pods to come. Obviously, you guys know we do our seasons basically July to June, so we have a whole month of June that's going to be really tasty in terms of pods. But it's just been a crazy ass season. We thank you for tuning in to every one of these match reviews. That's been a huge disappointment along the way, and hopefully we found ways for you to, as we will with our next segment, try and change the conversation a little bit with some new ideas. So, yeah, thank fuck it's over.
All right, well, with that said, we will take the last ad break and then get into the players who are maybe saying goodbye and reacting to the final table and what this means for promotion and relegation in and out of the Premier League. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Okay, so Nick, there are things or players, personnel that are saying goodbye that we 100% know are confirmed. There are ones that are extremely likely. Those are ones that are somewhat likely, maybe some question marks on if it happens now or if it happens in a little bit, contingent upon player sales incoming. And so I think the first one, maybe just for as a confirmation, he didn't get a chance to say goodbye the last time he was Chelsea manager. He did get an opportunity to do so to the supporters today, but Frank Lampard leaving at the end of a unfortunate, unceremonious exit or departure in terms of the way that the team has played over this last part of the season. I mean, I think we can't thank him enough for the work that he did, bringing up several Chelsea Academy players, some who are still with us, some who are excelling elsewhere in Europe, who took over in a time of turmoil when Chelsea were under transfer ban, didn't have Champions League football, had to work back into that, got us through the stages where Tuchel was then able to take the baton and carry us the rest of the way. This one was not great. This was not a great spell for Frank Lampard. It does not do well for his aspirations as a Premier League manager, particularly when you compare when you add this to the Everton performance in this season. Is not a great resume builder. But for every other great memory that we have had that has been generated by Frank Lampard, we I guess forgive this and say thank you for all the other great memories, and there we are.
Yeah, I mean, this is a culmination of his career at Chelsea, right? Not a moment in time analysis. Frank Lampard is Chelsea's greatest ever player. He did a serviceable job in his first stint as manager. This obviously didn't go that well, but I'm really glad that he got his banner out today. I think in the Matthew Harding end, and the club were able to serenade him as he walked around the pitch for the final time as our manager. And again, it's hard not to contextualize this against where we are. But Dan, if you look at the positive side. I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit to where the table is. He kept two sides up this season, so really exciting stuff for him.
Wow.
Anyway, a little bit of a joke there, but look, I mean,
you either live long enough to see Big Sam,
or
keep your team up, or die becoming.
Yeah. So I think there have been a bunch of people who said this on Twitter and in the press, but man, if that dude can get into a talent ID role somewhere, and I hope it's Chelsea at some point, because God only knows what's going on behind the scenes at our club. He is excellent in talent ID. He understands what he's looking for, and I think would probably be a lot happier doing that than maybe doing the management side anymore. I think I'm not trying to write his career arc for him or anything, but I think if he were to do that, he would be really, really, truly excellent at it.
I would guess that he goes back into punditry. I think he was actually very, very good at it. And I think, as Mourinho famously talked about, like you look at the scene, there are not a lot of ex-Chelsea in those type of roles. There's a lot of ex-Liverpool, a lot of ex-United, ex-Arsenal. And so when you have a pool of individuals talking about something, there's no way to eradicate a bias or an affection or an affinity to an organization. And it'd be nice to add, in addition to like Joe Cole and Karen Carney, add just another voice. Emma obviously commentates frequently as well. So just add one more voice to the sphere of people who are saying nice things about Chelsea would be great. Obviously, we have to earn those, but maybe just even to shade the conversation a little bit would be nice. When we think about the extremely likely, just based upon the reporting, the reception today, either what the fans were doing for the player, what the player was providing back to the fans in terms of acknowledgement, you have to start with Azpilicueta. Azpilicueta was rumored to be going at the beginning part of last season in the summer window. He was at an extension that got triggered, and so he did end up staying for what was a very tumultuous first season under the Clear Lake Group, the Todd Bowley and company acquisition. And it feels like, Nick, this is the end of the chapter. That the performances are okay, not great. They are not at the level that we're going to need to fight our way back to the top of the Premier League table again next season, to put ourselves back into Champions League contention. And this is probably the best way to outside of winning something, winning a trophy, winning a title, this is the best way to kind of go out on a little bit of a known term.
Statue. That's what he deserves. I mean, obviously, I want to see him play as long as he wants to play. And I think, he was rumored to go to Barcelona last summer. There's a chance he ends up in Spain again. He will assuming that he leaves, which is not a done deal or anything like that, he will make whatever team he goes to better because he is that good at being a leader and a captain. Again, really touching scenes for him, and I'm glad We Are the Shed group did that banner today because I feel like even though he's won everything in his career, even though he's been such a stalwart, even though he's played over 500 games for the club, I think today was 508, it still feels like he's underrated by people. And maybe it's just the nature of the position that he's played or the fact that he's not a showboaty, me guy or whatever, but he is just genuinely an awesome dude and shouldn't be underrated. He should be exalted.
There might be a future episode, which is like the adequately rated, like inaccurately rated type of episode in terms of Chelsea players of past, particularly as more and more new supporters come into the sport. And, look, you get to root for Chelsea as an underdog now, which means that you can join on the Chelsea bandwagon and not be called a title chaser or a trophy chaser. In addition to Azpilicueta, it feels like we may have seen the last of Ruben Loftus-Cheek in this match. Ruben got called off in the 60th minute, did a round of applause. There was a reactionary standing ovation from the supporters as well. Ruben's road has been bumpy, to say the least, at Chelsea. There was a lot of hype surrounding him at a very early part of his career. There's been a lot of injuries. There's been several loans. There's been some highs in certain years. The 2019 under Mauricio Sarri was maybe the best version of Ruben Loftus-Cheek that we have seen at the club. Marauding forward, scoring, had the look of maybe a player who would be the next generation Ballack, but even better control. The way he was able to take the ball, I think maybe second to Hazard probably at that time in the team, of just tight control with the ball at his feet and doing it at 6'4", which is pretty fantastic. I think the shame of this is going to be, Nick, is that we never were able to see Ruben unlock 100% of his potential wearing Chelsea blue and only got maybe the slightest appearance of what that full potential looked like. And it was delicious looking in terms of what that future could have been. And I think that's going to be the biggest shame. But, for a player who's contributed, I think he's been a really great squad player wherever managers have needed him to play, whether it's right wing back, whether it's in midfield, whether it's as a second striker. He's been willing and flexible and amenable to all that. And you just have to say thanks for being a great contributor when your number's been called.
Yeah, I think more than that, obviously we were at Gillette when he tore his Achilles, and it felt like so much of the air just went out of the room, like out of the whole building, I should say, because all of the potential, all the back problems that he overcame, all the ligament trouble that he had, it felt like he was finally over the hump. I think he was 23 at that point, or 22 going on 23, and that he was just going to enter the prime of his career in such a form. And Chelsea had this dynamo from midfield that was one of our own. And at that point, this is pre-Mason Mount, right? This is pre-Reece James. This is it was him and Christensen, and Christensen was kind of a not fully homegrown player at that point. It felt like finally, since John Terry left, we have one of our guys, right? And I've always given him a lot of love for that because I think he, more than anything, has persevered. And it probably cost him. It probably cost him starting minutes. It probably cost him a chance at trophies. It probably cost him a lot. And it was great to see the crowd acknowledge that today. And again, he was our favorite player interview that we've done at Cobham. It was so much fun to get to talk to him and see him open up. And he really lights up a room, right, from a personality standpoint. And, we just wish him the best. And I will sincerely follow him wherever he goes and root for him, because that's a real talent that's probably going to go, play in Italy and we have a few other friends in the Milan team and the Roma team and a bunch of other friends who are in Italy too that we follow. So best of luck to him, genuinely.
Another one is you would likely see Joao Felix's loan come to an end, and due to the cost, both on player wages or to Atletico Madrid, it feels very unlikely, at least even though there have been a ton of overtures, even though, again, another player we've spoken to who seemingly would want to stay in London, reports from multiple individuals saying that he likes London, he wants to stay in there. Again, you got to think about it. Every one of these scenarios has a player and a player's entourage who are advocating for their best. Yeah, Mendes, very much known for advocating on behalf of his players. It just feels like, Nick, that given the stack rank of priorities that Chelsea have heading into this summer, that Joao Felix is definitely more of one of those like nice to have individuals, whereas a upgrade in midfield, an upgrade likely in goalkeeper, and a true striker or true number 9 is where Chelsea's head is at. And this would be more of a if a exodus of players occurred, if we are able to get the money we're looking for in terms of certain sales, maybe it happens, but it feels less likely than it did when he first came and there was a rush of excitement when he has started his loan.
Another really nice guy. Got a chance to talk to him at Cobham again. Really impressed us, I think, from the way he handled that situation. Look, it's just been hard. Right, it's been hard all the way around, and if Chelsea do not go get a nailed-on number 9 who can come in and bang in the goals, then it doesn't matter how many number 10s we have, right? And it's pretty clear at this point that Felix and Havertz and Nkunku and a bunch of these other guys are number 10s. They're not number 9s, right? So I think it's just a situation where there's as you say, the stack rank of needs exceeds the likelihood of him staying.
The other one here is Edouard Mendy, and this is one that Naz has been doing diligence on a reporting perspective for the Evening Standard, talking about how it seems more than likely that Edouard Mendy will seek to leave Chelsea, not viewed as the number 1 starter at this moment. This would be one of those weird sliding door moments. If he doesn't get injured, if he retains his spot, if he doesn't have that dip in form, did Chelsea have their goalkeeper for the next decade? Particularly after one of the best runs of performance in Europe in recent memory from a defensive contribution. The way he was stopping shots, the way that Chelsea's defense was playing in the run-up to our Champions League victory. It feels weird to have gone from being the starter on a team that won the Champions League to now being on his way out, but seemingly contract terms are a bit of a sticking point. And at least right now, Chelsea are saddled with it would be saddled with 2 very expensive goalkeepers, and from a squad building standpoint, doesn't seem to be the right way forward.
Yep. Look, we will always have that Champions League, right?
We'll always have Porto.
We will. And we will always have the fact that he was the world's best goalkeeper in that stretch. There could be no denying it. He was in front of a formidable defense, or behind a formidable defense, I should say. But he absolutely stood on his head. And had it not been for injuries, and I think the team just changing the way they played, who knows? But one that hopefully is welcomed back fondly at the Bridge should he choose to go. And, again, I will never forget that night that he and the rest of the team gave us. It was simply one of the best of our lives.
All right, and then we'll rapid fire through a few more, just ones that have maybe an uncertain future ahead, could be on their way out this summer, so we don't know fully if this was the last time that we saw them. Mateo Kovacic has an additional year left in his contract, so a similar situation to Mason Mount, where we talked about that in more depth recently, so you can go back and listen to the last episode Nick and I did if you want to hear more thoughts on Mason Mount. But Mateo Kovacic, similar situation, no contract renewal yet. Feels like he might be on his way out too, Nick, and this would be the opportunity if you're going to try to continue to make some make some profit, make some balancing the books happen, could be a candidate for a departure elsewhere.
Yeah, for sure. And he played horrifically when he came on today, just to put on that hat. It seems likely like he will leave. There's not going to be a whole lot of space in that midfield, and I think it would make sense just on his wages to make that move. Again, at his best, he was incredible for us, and really, I think it's forgotten that when we were on a transfer ban that we were allowed to sign him because it was an extension of that loan. Basically, we had the option to buy, and so the fact that we were able to bring him in for that Maurizio Sarri season, and then he continued under Lampard, was incredible. It felt like stealing one there, but yeah, I think it's probably the right time for him.
Another one, fellow compatriot in Christian Pulisic, is also one who would look likely to leave, given the way that he's fallen down the pecking order in terms of attackers at the club. Obviously, Mudryk came in, Madueke came in. You're likely getting Nkunku coming in as well, so it feels like his spot is not solidified. He'd like to be a starter, I would imagine, again somewhere, and this would be a player who might find that opportunity outside of Chelsea. Could potentially stay in the Premier League, but most likely is going to find an opportunity to start elsewhere.
For sure. Definitely a player that, I think when he first got here, excited a lot of us. I think it's just been a really tough road for him. And, he's not playing even when the stakes are zero. So you can't imagine that he's going to be the first name on the team sheet next year. It's a shame it didn't work out. He, like Kovacic, couldn't stay healthy. And at the end of the day, the best ability is availability. And I hope that he does find that consistent run in a team and he's able to show what he can actually do, because I think there's a really good player in there.
And the last one, Kepa Arrizabalaga. This is probably the most challenging one to move off of heading into the summer. Still, the wages are going to be a challenge for a lot of teams to take on, so it feels like it's going to be something where Chelsea are going to have to find one of a very few number of clubs who would be interested and likely willing to do some work on their end financially to help make it happen. But this is another one we've seen rumored, particularly if Chelsea are going after a new shot stopper. We've seen multiple names linked with the club, particularly as the Mauricio Pochettino news has started to further solidify over the last 24 hours. But Nick, this is another one where performed in times above where he needed to help the club. Had one really great save today, didn't come out for a cross on the other. There's a Jekyll and Hyde with Kepa that makes it really hard, because you almost want to will him to be better than he is, because when he is on his best, it feels good. It feels really good. But when he's at his worst, it's very easy to say, man, such an easy position for us to upgrade.
It's not the first priority we have, but I think, there's been rumors of Onana, and, obviously if Mendy goes and Kepa stays, if you bring in a goalkeeper, he's not going to start. And so I think the most likely scenario for him is that, if they can figure out a way to get him a transfer and he decides to take less money, right, which is not an easy thing to do, but if you're looking to get into a future World Cup or national team side, you have to play, right? And he's still young enough to make that happen. I mean, goalkeepers age differently than outfield players, right? So he still has a lot of career in front of him. I think that's probably the right thing. I think he would do really well in Spain or Italy, or even Germany. But I don't think he's a locked on Premier League every match sort of goalkeeper. And I think Chelsea would do best if they were able to move both of them on. And, I think it's going to be challenging, but that would be the right move.
Be interesting if we rolled into next season with that new number one, Gaga Slonina, as number two, which could be
having a heck
good.
Of an under 20 World Cup, by the way.
The Chelsea players at the under 20 World Cup right now, having a good time. Having a real good time. and then potentially Bettinelli as your third choice, just here to make sure that everybody's having a good time. The chief enthusiasm, the chief charisma offer, Bettinelli, just loving life. But look, Nick, that's our early assessment just on some goodbyes that might be happening, some that feel more certain than others. But there are some other goodbyes that we have to do, and these are for Premier League clubs that are going away, because we're going to react to the end of the season from a non-Chelsea perspective. And look, we obviously know Manchester City, champions, that's great. 89 points, saved the world from Arsenal winning the league. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our timeline greatly improved because of
doubt.
that. Arsenal finished 5 points behind them. Man United and Newcastle, 75 and 71 points apiece. Round out your top four. Liverpool, unfortunately for them, fall back behind and will be in Europa League next season, along with Brighton, and then Aston Villa make their way into the Conference League. No European football for Tottenham. Brentford finished in 9th place, Fulham in 10th, Crystal Palace in 11th, by 1 point ahead of us in 12th place, and then Wolves, West Ham, Bournemouth, Forest round out up to 16th place, because this last day of the season, it was all about what was going to happen with Everton, Leicester, and Leeds. Southampton's fate had already been confirmed, and they came to play today, which was great. They went out in a very good way for their supporters, which was fun to watch. It's always good to clown on Liverpool a little bit, and we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Though, Nick, this is a fun set of games. I think you wanted to sing it earlier, and now we can officially confirm. Na 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 na. Leeds are going down,
going down. Leeds are going down. All right, we'll work on the
we'll ask
syncing up.
Jake to sync that up somehow. We'll just put it in the notes. But they don't come here to hear us sing. They come here to just enjoy the fact that Leeds are going down collectively. As a Chelsea supporter, feels really good. Unfortunate for our fellow American players who are now in the Championship and not in the Premier League. This was a crazy end to it, because for the majority, really through the first halves, it was Everton going down. Leeds found out very quickly that they were going to be going down when Harry Kane decided, I'm here to score today. I'm here to go out, potentially
2 minutes in.
Potentially go out in a blaze of glory for my Tottenham career, because there are rumors about him pushing for an exit.
Yeah.
This solidified quickly, and so it really was a run-up between which of the two teams, between Everton and Leicester, would make it across the line. And as we were talking about it early, Leicester get that early goal, or earlier goal than Everton. So they are effectively in the driver's seat. But hold on, Nick. Everton said, no way, not today. You're getting diced.
And diced they got. This was a crazy-ass game between Everton and Bournemouth. Everton scoring through Decore with an absolute rip of a shot. I mean, just an absolute rip. And then they held on for an additional 48 minutes, and then there's 10 extra minutes of injury time because Pickford broke his finger midway through the second half. It was disgusting to look at, by the way. They showed it on camera. Just awful. Him and Solanke got into it. They were going at each other. I mean, it was a really rough and tumble game up at Goodison. This is the last game at Goodison Park before they move to Bramley Docks next year. And it's the atmosphere was just so pitched, and then you get in the middle of Everton's injury time that Leicester have won, right? So if Bournemouth equalize, Everton are going down, and Everton are basically just hanging on for dear life, and then they finally got the whistle at the end, and they stayed up, and then their fans rushed the pitch and demanded the board be sacked. They were up in arms. This was not a celebration; it was a protest, and I know Everton fans in my life. Obviously, we've listened to Men in Blazers for a long time to know that Raj lives and dies with his club. Like I was happy that they stayed up because I think Leicester and Leeds definitely deserve to go down based on their performances this year. I think it netted out the right way at the end, but it was It was intense, man. I don't know. The Premier League is something else.
We were all treated to a wild Sunday, a phenomenal finish to the end of the Premier League season. But Nick, we are going to invite a couple of fun teams back into the fold. And I'm going to say Burnley are going to be more fun now because it's a Vincent Kompany side. Like I am unhappy that Sean Dyche remains in the Premier League. That is unfortunate. Good for the Everton faithful. Sad for the Leicester supporters who have seen their club go through a really weird transition over the last couple of years to go from winning the league to in the past decade, which a lot of teams in that top echelon can't even say, to now being back in the championship feels like a real just turnaround for them. But Burnley back up. Sheffield United back up. And I think the one that everybody is talking about the most, the first non-league side to go from non-league to the Premier League, Luton Town, is going to made it into the Premier League after the playoffs. And we are going to see some of the craziest away day videos for people going to Luton Town to watch their team play against this side.
Their stadium is 10,000. It can't currently function with VAR because it doesn't have the right dimensions. They have a lot of shit to figure out at the league level for that. But the match yesterday between them and Coventry was amazing. I still don't understand why they give out a trophy in this. Like, it just seems for third place, it just is like whatever.
Look, they should just give them a big check. They should do one of the big checks like Publisher Clearinghouse. Here's your first Premier League payment, guys.
But, I mean, I was really happy. Luton deserved to win that game, by the way. They were the far better team in the match. And then it goes to penalties. And penalties is just the worst way to decide who's going to go up to the Premier League or not. But Luton get it done. Somewhere up there in the sky, Jamal Edwards is smiling because that is his hometown team. Obviously, he's a Chelsea fan as well. And I petitioned the Chelsea-Luton game, the away match for Chelsea, to be the Jamal Edwards derby, because I think that would be a pretty special thing to do. But welcome to Luton Town into the Premier League.
Go on, you Hatters. What a performance from them. Again, they had to come back from 2-1 down in the first part of the playoffs against Sunderland. They did come back and win 2-0, and then it went to penalties. After a 1-1 element, 6-5 was the ending to the promotion playoff there. But we will end this episode, Nick, with just the last bit, a bit of good news.
Thank
that
God.
All Chelsea supporters needed heading into the start of the offseason. But Matt Law dropping the note before kickoff. Understand Mauricio Pochettino has now signed his contract as Chelsea's permanent head coach. Thoughts? Feelings?
Very pleased that this is finally fucking done. I think they probably waited to announce, or they probably waited to announce everything until the last game of the season was done, just to, say a farewell to Frank and co. But there's a lot of fucking work to do, so let's get to work and let's make some smart choices. Let's get Mason Mount re-signed. Let's get our transfer policies in order, and yeah, I'm very, very intrigued to see how his first season goes, because it's gonna be not too hard to leap over the bar that's on the floor of this current season.
Yeah, for the players, there is a bit of a break ahead, but for the board, for the owners, for the technical side of it, for the new manager, it definitely should be a no days off energy coming out for the next few weeks, as players need to get moved on, contracts need to be renewed, plans need to be drafted up for how this team is going to play and train heading into next season to avoid the copious amounts of injuries, soft tissue injuries that we ran into over the course of this past season. There's so much work ahead, and we will be with you throughout all of it, because we also operate on a no days off type of philosophy here at London is Blue HQ. We're going to have more content.
You see us injured this year, Dan? Fucking no.
Well, I mean, we've had some sniffles, we've had some colds occasionally, but we played through it. We played through. We gave you the full 90, and here we
played
are.
Hurt a lot.
Hurt or hungover, one of the two. We played in both capacities, but that is the final match review of the 2022-2023 Premier League season as we look forward to brighter days ahead for Chelsea, as we recognize the Chelsea women doing amazing things once again and get you into the start of summer. So get those yacht rock jams going, get those fun colored shades out, and get ready to celebrate with us as we start another wonderful, hopefully, season of Chelsea football, because this one is done and dusted. So
we will see you in Raleigh, Philly, Atlanta, DC, summer tour, live shows. Let's fucking go.
Sun is out, and we will also be out having a great time as well. But until next time, Chelsea fans, you know what to do. Take a breath, relax, enjoy a nice beverage, and keep the blue flag flying high.